Welcome to Life in
Life in
Guatemala.
Guatemala.
Yeah. Today you're seeing a split screen because I'm in the US and Brian's in Guatemala. But after our last live broadcast, we did get a handful of questions. And so we thought we would have another one and see if we can answer some more questions for you. And if you're watching and you just type something in the chat, we'll try and answer those questions for you as well. And a lot of these questions are just from a handful of people. Margie and Rob, a couple, sent in a number of good questions. Some have answers in some of our other videos, but we don't have a problem going through and re-answering those. And then another gentleman was very interested in our trip as we traveled through Mexico. So anyway, are you ready, honey?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're not looking at anybody. That's why I couldn't tell. You're looking down the whole time.
Well, I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to get on our own live thing so I can see if somebody's chatting, but I'm having a problem
Well, it'll
finding
be
it.
on your phone. It'll pop up if somebody comes in. So you'll see if they chat, if they type something right on your phone.
Okay.
Okay. The first question that came, I just took these questions down in the order that I received them. So they're not in any special order or anything. But the first question is asking about the air quality here in Xela. Hey, it's Eva. Love, good to see you joining us. Eva's my friend in Pana that we did the interview, the live chat. Say hi.
Hello. I I have seen and responded to quite a while ago something Eva had posted. Uh, Not posted.
All right, Stevie.
She put something on her own channel, and I was watching it. And
Ah.
we're talking, man, this might be a year ago. And I thought she said share your link or something. And I'm not sure if I ever did or not because I'm not sure if I knew how to do that. But
Okay.
anyways,
Anyway, the first question, going back to this was about asking us about the air quality in Xela. And in my opinion, I guess it sort of depends on where you are. If you're out on the road, it could be pretty stifling at times.
well, yeah, here's my take on it. I'm gonna say in general, I think it's pretty good. Um, there's quite a number of diesel vehicles here,
The
and
old ones
a
too.
lot of them are older.
Yep.
And saying
Hey,
all that,
Margie.
hey there, now we got three people on.
Yeah, well,
So
Margie is part of our. Margie is the one that asked this question about the air quality, as well as a few others. Her and her husband Rob. So,
okay, so anyways, let me continue on with this here. So older diesel engine vehicles, a lot of those are puffing black smoke,
yeah.
especially when they're under heavy acceleration or something like that. So you do have that. And when the Santiaguito is puffing a lot of smoke, putting a lot of ash in the air, and if the wind is going,
The right way.
yeah, kind of, let's see. I guess
To
that
the
would be
north.
the normal,
Yeah.
kind of the normalish direction. Even though every time I see a plume from the back, coming from the back of Santa Maria, which is where Santiaguito is from us, we
Yeah.
don't always have a bunch of ash, but
But there are
sometimes
times. There
it's
are
almost like a
times.
dusting of snow.
Yep. And but on the whole, air quality, to answer the question, in my opinion, also is not horrible. You will see people that say it is. I don't have an issue with it. I don't get a cough or a hack unless Santiaguito is really puffing a lot of smoke. Then we get a little bit more. Um, and some people you'll see wearing masks for that very reason, not for
Yeah,
anything else.
you
And
know, unfortunately, when COVID was first um, first hitting Guatemala, just like in the United States, one of the things they did here was do a mask mandate, and a lot of people were wearing masks. I mean, it was the rule. Basically, anytime you were outside your house, you had to have a mask on. And I do know some people who they noticed that they weren't having some other sicknesses that they might have normally had, like getting colds or something like that. And so some people still continue to wear a face mask here.
Yep.
And I'm assuming, not that I'm talking to these people a lot, but I'm assuming they think it's helping. So, um, and we have a friend who's she's had coughing issues and stuff for quite a while, and maybe that is something related to
The air quality or
Santiago. I'm
something.
gonna
I don't
I'm gonna
know.
put it a lot of it on the volcano because that's the one constant. We I just mentioned COVID a minute ago. To me, COVID is not really a thing here.
We don't
Like,
see, haven't heard much about it. No. So,
yes, so I don't believe, we don't hear about it on the news, and they're not, pushing booster shots and all that stuff that I'm aware of. So
so,
I don't believe any of the issues are COVID related. I think that it's
so the long answer to a short question, I guess it depends on what you think is high quality air or poor quality air. We think it's okay unless you're out in traffic or bad volcano days. So
yeah.
that's,
The other
yeah,
difficulty is when it's dry season,
yeah, a
and
lot of
then it'll
dust.
be dusty,
Yeah,
and then we do get a fair amount of wind here, and sometimes that dust and sand will be blowing around a little bit, which
that can happen anywhere though. Yeah,
yeah, but that could be causing some kind of respiratory issues for people. But other than that, long, long, long rambling story. In my opinion, the air quality it's good.
yeah. For a city, it's really good. Okay. The
Let
next
me turn
question.
on my light here while we're
Oh, on
chatting.
Margie, I'm going to get back to this. Says on the topic of getting sick, how healthy are the locals? Because here in the U.S., it seems, in our area, at least the people that we know and associate with and see on a daily basis, I don't see a lot of sickly people. But I suppose it's like anywhere. People that don't take care of themselves are going to get more sick than people that do take care of themselves. I know that there are a lot of viruses going around here in the U.S. In case you missed the beginning, I'm in the States right now, and Brian's still in Guatemala. But there's a lot of really good quality over-the-counter flu meds and things here that you can get, including shots that they don't give us in the States, and I think that helps. But
What? You're saying they give us flu shots here?
you can buy a pack with shots. I did it for Arlene one day. I gave them to her 3 days in a row when we lived in San Marcos. She bought
I
them as
thought
a
that was like vitamin B
no, that
something
was
or
for the flu. The window
okay.
blinds and drywall. Yes, that would be me in the States. um, do we handle? Do we maintain an address in the U.S.? Yes, we do, and I do that for a couple reasons. We maintain an address. We don't have a house. We do use my brother's, and we file our taxes based on U.S. address and U.S. citizenship, and we keep a valid driver's license, and it's for voting, taxes, and ease for banking and everything else because it leads into the next question: do we have bank accounts in the U.S. and in Guatemala? Absolutely. I have two U.S. bank accounts set up for us. One is our one we've had since I think Brian
Hello?
one with Wells Fargo, excuse me, for doing money transfers. And so those are our two US accounts. And then we have two Guatemalan accounts. One is our personal account with Hayete, GYT, and the other one is for our nonprofit, and it's through Banco Industrial, BI. And it makes it easy to pay our bills because we can pay some bills like our other, so I just move money into that account, and the girls pay part of the utilities, so it works out, and then I can pay it right online. We move the money. It's $4.99 to move up to like $3,000 with,
$5.
well, it's, oh, is
Yeah.
it up to 5 even? So with Wells
Well,
Fargo,
you said 4.99. It's $4.99, right?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I was just being technical. So we move money, once a month. Sometimes we've been doing a little something different with Zoom, XOOM, as part of PayPal, but that's a whole different thing. But we've been moving money with Wells Fargo with no problem for since we moved here. So that has not been an issue. Um, do you have any other questions? Are you still there? Medicare, we're not quite there yet. I'm
Hey,
60.
slow down a second, man. You're just ripping through these things. There's hardly any
Okay.
transition.
Okay.
How
I'm
do
just
we
going through
handle
the
bank accounts with an account in the U.S. and Guatemala? So I just want to expand on that a little bit more. In that um, we have an account, we have our main bank account in the USA. To transfer money to Guatemala, and this is how we handle moving our money down here for us to buy things and whatever else. We opened a Wells Fargo account and we linked. I don't know exactly the proper terminology, but we have set up so they can directly send money to our GET account here,
Yep.
and it, as Debbie was saying, that costs $4.99 per transfer. When we do that, we tend to do it once a month, right? Hey, Debbie, you seem to be freezing up quite a bit. Like right now, you're frozen. Anyways, yeah, we like my pension, the little pension that I started drawing, that shows up in our credit union account. We transfer it to Wells Fargo and then transfer it here, and that's how we're
Yeah.
doing it as far as having bank
CD
accounts.
commented that he didn't like Wells Fargo, that he prefers credit unions. We've had the credit union for a long time. We only use Wells Fargo basically to be able to do the transfer.
Yeah, and the only reason we signed up for them is at the time we had learned that they were one of the banks that had this ability to transfer money directly to a Guatemalan bank account. That we didn't have that option in our
Because
credit union,
some
and
people
we
use
were trying
Charles
to do other
Schwab.
things to get money down here. Like
Right.
Debbie had mentioned before, Zoom and Remitly and whatever else. And it was at that time it just wasn't super reliable for us, there were more than once where we had a little bit of anxiety of, hey,
Did,
we're trying to send the money, but there's a glitch and it's not going through, and you
but
know
it has improved drastically, and so because we have used it for a few months, just for a couple other reasons. I'm going to get to the Medicare now. Can I go there, hon?
Sure. Let's move on to Medicare, being we don't know much about it.
The only thing I can tell you, because I'm only 62 and Brian's going to be 61 in about a week and a half. And so we aren't on Medicare yet. But what we do know of it is that you can't really use it down here, is our understanding. But we have every intention of making sure that when we're eligible, we're going to go ahead and get it, because if something major happened that might not be covered here, because we do have insurance here too, but we could go back to the States and I could get things taken care of probably at even less cost if it was something major, if I had a heart condition or cancer or something like that, if once I'm on Medicare. Plus,
Yeah,
then I don't have to buy this monthly insurance once I'm on Medicare because I'll have it through the Medicare program.
yeah. Basically, we are kind of already operating that way, in that we have health insurance in the USA that we're paying for, and we also have a health insurance that we're paying for here.
Yep.
And um, part of the reason why we go home every so often, or go back to the USA every so often, is to get a little bit of, I feel confident. I feel like we've gotten good treatment, and the friends of ours who've lived here a lot longer than us, they've had surgeries and all kinds of stuff down here, and they think they get good treatment. But there's just a little bit of a confidence that I get, anyways, by being able to talk to somebody, and
Full English.
yeah, in full English, and except for maybe not understanding the medical terms 100%. I understand what they're saying here. Yeah, there's some amount of doctors that speak English and whatnot, but
Well, another reason we keep the medical insurance right now is because of my diabetes. The things I have to pay for or don't have to pay for with the insurance would cost me more out of pocket, even buying them in Guatemala, because a lot of the things I get at very low or no cost for my diabetic care. And I
right.
would pay more than our monthly premium to buy those out of pocket in Guatemala.
Yeah, and in general, a lot of those things are at a very good price compared to if you had to pay for them out of pocket in the USA.
Right.
But it's more money than what the insurance covers in the USA. Like your blood glucose sensors, those permanent
Yeah.
sensors that you have on,
Yeah. I wear a
they're
diabetic sensor. Yeah.
they're pretty darn. I mean, what did we say they were, like 20 bucks a thing, or 30 bucks
$100 a piece. You can get
here?
them. Yeah, no, if there I could get them for about 85 for a 2-week sensor. It would
Okay,
cost me $160 a month just for 2 sensors in Guatemala, and they just came out with a brand. It's not even one of them that's in the States. It's a Central American brand. I've never heard of them. They're new to Guatemala. They just started them like a year or so ago. Um, and I don't get those if I run out of my insulin pen, I can get them down there for about the same cost as getting them over the counter here, $35 for out. So there's things like that. Hey, it's expensive to be unhealthy. I'm working on it.
yeah.
Eva's putting there. Eva's making her remark. Um, the next question is easy for me because I did get a jury summons right after we moved from San Marcos to Xela. I got a jury summons, and all I had to do was call them and tell them that I'm out of the country and that I'm in Guatemala until however long, and they just took me off jury duty. If you have a address down here, you can even tell them you like I usually say we are dual residents. We do have permanent residency through our rentista program in Guatemala, and we have permanent residency because we have an address and voting and driver's license here in the States. So I say I live part of the time in the States and part of the time in Guatemala, and you just happen to send me the jury summons while I'm in Guatemala. I didn't have any problem at all. So I think other people have answered that on the Facebook pages and said the same thing. They just call and tell them, I'm out of the country. Um,
Okay. I don't
we
I
kind
don't
of
have anything to add to that. You've
we
answered.
talked a little bit about the other one when we were talking about our address. What do we do about filing income tax? Because we don't work or own a business in Guatemala, we don't have to file income taxes in Guatemala. We do have a tax ID number that we needed for importing our car and buying our new car. And you can give it to the stores if you want, but we don't have to file any tax there. And so we file our income tax strictly as US residents with all of our, my social security, his pension, and anything like that we get from our retirement funds is how we file.
You know, does Guatemala even have income tax? I thought the majority of their taxes were paid through the sales tax thing or something or other,
Which is
the
why you have the
IVA or
new one,
something.
why you have to give that number when you go to the store and stuff. It's something to do with that. I don't know the ins
Yeah,
and outs of it,
I
but
don't know, but like Debbie said, we're not working here, uh, and we're not trying to run a business here, so we haven't really checked into that. And we don't have much information on Guatemala and paying Guatemalan taxes. Um, but yeah, we just
would I be interested
just as
in
anybody living in the USA, when I get my uh, tax stuff from work for my pension, I just give it to our accountant, which happens to be Debbie's brother, and he files our taxes for us. And
we're all set.
yep,
CD has an interesting look at the question on your phone down there. Would you be interested in selling a checklist with links and directions for a newcomer to get established like you?
sure,
I don't think we would even have to sell it because that's what this whole channel is about. And we can get it into PDF format and get something a little bit more direct, but we try to put out videos that give this kind of information that we would have loved to have had when we were getting ready to come down. And that's kind of how we base a lot of our videos is what would we have wanted to know. And sometimes our videos are places that we visit and things, people that we meet. So we add a little bit of variety, but a lot of it's just stuff we think is information we would have loved to have had. I mean, am I on the right track, you think, hon?
yeah. I mean, when we were first planning on coming down here, we did join a couple of Facebook groups that
Yeah.
and there's two of them here in Guatemala that we look at fairly often. One's expats in Xela, and the other is expats in Guatemala, or something. I'm not sure if those
Yeah.
names are
One
exactly right.
they're in the remarks in the description of the video when it's
Okay,
posted tomorrow.
and so they're fairly active. A couple of posts every day, maybe a few more. And there's just a lot of general information in there. People are asking questions: how do you do this? Where do you get this? Whatever. uh,
And we might make do that. That's a good idea. A PDF or a note file with a link to it. That might be an easy thing to put together. Just some basic,
yeah,
yeah.
one thing that I think is key, at least it was for us, is we knew 100% that we wanted to get our residency when we moved here. We
Yep.
did, because there's a lot of
You're
people
welcome.
who they come here and they live here kind of as a permanent tourist, meaning they will get a 90-day stamp in their passport, and then at the end of 90 days they either have to go to the immigration office in the capital to get it renewed for another 90 days, and you pay a small fee, I think, to do that, or
Eva does
you
that.
leave the country. So
Yeah.
so
A lot of
we
people
knew we
do.
didn't want to do that, and so that was one of the first things that we checked out. And we talked to a kind of an immigration lawyer here, and they told us these are the documents we need, and we got them, and we got that permanent residency status really quickly when we
Because we
first
knew what
got
we
here.
were doing. We knew ahead of time exactly what we needed. So
Yeah, and so
Margie,
that, to me, that is step one. But we'll put down more things. I guess we can put them down in a list or in a file or something, and
yeah, I think we can put that
include them
together. It
here.
takes us a little bit of time to get it all how we want it, but I like your question, Margie, because a lot of people run into this. Yes, occasionally we withdraw from an ATM with a US card. Not very often because we do have Guatemalan bank accounts, so we don't have to. But something that, especially if you don't speak Spanish or read Spanish, there's a lot of different bank machines here. The two in Shayla that are primary are the number one is called Cinco Bay 5B, and they're like a yellow and blue machine, and then Banco Industrial or BI, they're blue, just blue machines, blue and white. This if you use an ATM machine and you use the 5B or the Cinco Bay machine, you have to be careful. On the very first screen, if you're using a US card, it will ask you, do you want to use the bank's exchange rate? It's talking about the bank in Guatemala, and a lot of people don't know that, and they hit yes, and then they get this really bad exchange rate. You need to hit no on that first screen. And then the only other thing you have to answer yes to is if you're accepting the actual bank ATM fee, $5, $6, whatever your bank and the bank your machine's using charges. So it might cost you 7 or 8 US dollars to take out, in most cases, 2,000 Q maximum, which is $260 ish at a time or per day. Some people in some places have been able to do multiples. I have not had that. I've only been able to take it
Here,
out 2,000 at
here's
a time.
here's one thing. Um,
Ooh, Eva had her bank cleaned out. That's not good.
wow.
We've never had that, thank goodness.
Yeah, I have heard some stories. As a matter of fact, one of our Spanish teachers early on recommended we have multiple banks, and you don't keep all your money in one bank, because if something happens and they decide to freeze your account or something, and it happens to Guatemalans, so if it happened to us, we'd also be in the same kind of bad situation. So, but
Eva
we
makes a
fortunately
great
haven't had a problem.
Eva makes a great point. Be careful of the bank machines. Usually the machines I use are either the ones directly at the bank or inside like the dispensa grocery store or inside the mall. I very seldom use a street machine.
Yeah, that, and just like in the USA, see some videos here talking about the people put card skimmers or whatever
Right.
they call these things, and it says this is what you look out for. And
Most
um,
people don't look.
yeah, I guess kind of when I put and really Debbie's the one who does the majority of this, getting money out at the ATM. But if I do it, I kind of am looking where I'm putting my card, and does it look like there's something extra added to the outside of that? Because everything I've seen, that's kind of what they say is, hey, it's got something that somebody sticks on the outside of the card slot. So when you're putting your card in there, it's reading your card
And
and
stealing the
stealing
information.
that
Yeah.
information. And so I kind of pay attention to that, but like Debbie says, I only go to basically there's an ATM across the street that is right at the bank,
Yep.
and feel that that's fairly safe to use, and I've never seen anything that looks like they've modified something. And then also in the little supermarket down the street from us, there's two credit card machines in there. In the Walmart, there's two or three credit card or
Right.
ATM machines, I should say, not
ATM
credit
machines.
card.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are relatively safe places to be using it. But I mean, we kind of pay attention, and praise God, we haven't had any problems.
Right. The next couple questions sort of run together. It looks like, do we run into issues doing our banking from Shayla? I haven't so far. I'm not going to say there would never be an issue, but I haven't so far. You're welcome. And do we have concerns about long-term business do our banks have concerns? Up to this point, we have not had any questions as far as I've wired money, I've transferred money. I've even wired money from Guatemala back to a bank in the States one time. Um, to this point, no, we've not had a bank question our transactions at all.
No, I believe that we had talked to the banks, and obviously that Wells Fargo situation, we went there and purposely set up to be transferring money to this bank in Guatemala. So we filled out their forms, answered whatever their questions were. I don't even remember at the time, but you had to do a little bit of paperwork, and I had to actually be in the bank branch to turn in some things and sign some things and all this and that. And so to me, that is, they know we're transferring money. And I haven't even really heard of anybody else here in Guatemala who's going, hey, my US bank is questioning sending this money. I think a lot of times it's the Guatemalan banks who are a little bit more restrictive on things because of
Money laundering.
money laundering. Yep. So,
Eva, the bank fees, it depends on the bank. If you transfer from like Wells Fargo, it was $20, I think it was. Some are as low as 15 and some are as high as 70 for international wire transfers. It just depends on your bank and which country it's going to. So those fees vary from bank to bank, and you do have to watch out for that when you're making a transfer
yeah, I
by
mean,
wire.
you know this very well, right? Because when we were trying to figure out how we're going to get a large sum of money down here to buy this car, um, you investigated a bunch of different manners on how you can get money down here, and there were varying fees based
And
on the banks, really.
And we have an advantage. I think Brian mentioned earlier, my brother is our tax accountant. Well, my brother is also an IRS certified CPA tax accountant. So whenever I have a question about large sums of money or moving it or what I'm doing, I just call my brother or send him a text.
And
And it's been very helpful because, it was just a matter of don't keep so much money in one place in cash, or don't move it this way, or don't move it that way. And that makes, we're not going to be doing it. We bought the car, we're done, it was successful, it was easier than a lot of people say, even though it took a little bit of time. But we're not going to be making a lot of large purchases. We move maybe 1,500 to $2,000 a month on average, depending on what we're doing and what our needs are.
right, and as far as David, your brother, that's on the U.S. side of things. Here on the Guatemala side of things, Debbie put a post out on one of those or both of those Facebook groups, and we learned that there's a lot of expatriates here. Maybe they're not all from the USA, but they are running businesses here and stuff, and
Right,
they're
right.
moving tens of thousands of dollars monthly with, and a lot of them say it's no problem. You have to follow the rules, fill out these forms or whatever, report this for what it's being used for or something, and there's no issues.
Yeah, and back still in the banking, Margie, you said, how do we get dollars down here safely? We've talked a lot about it just today in this video, but we have a video just only about moving money to Guatemala. And I am going to refer you to that because we could go on a lot of different things that are all explained pretty clearly in that video on how to get. And we have gotten dollars down here safely in multiple ways. And so please watch that video. And if you need me to send you a link after this, I can do that if you can't find it in our list. um, how do you set up and keep Medicare going? Okay, once again, we haven't been on Medicare yet, but what I do know from, I like to look at these things in advance for myself. And one of our friends didn't sign up right away, and it's my understanding if you don't sign up when you're supposed to, you can have a slight penalty for that. But I don't quote me because I don't really know. I just stuff I was looking up. Um, a lot of that is my understanding that you can do it right online for the most part. Just like with my Social Security, I did it all online. But I also, that's where the embassy helps. And you can make appointments at the embassy. They'll help you. You can call, I believe for Social Security, I know the U.S. embassy that handles Social Security is in Costa Rica, but there's a number for you. They handle the Latin
Yeah, like
American
a
questions.
Central American
Right.
number.
And so that stuff is not, and a lot of people sign up and they have it down here. I would suggest going on to the Facebook page called Expats Living in Guatemala and do a search. I think you're going to find a lot of information in that page. And I do have a link that'll be show up in tomorrow. Once I post this tomorrow, it'll be all the descriptions of resources are in the link, because I just don't have a good answer for you because we just haven't gotten to that point yet. And I'm not going to try and make something up. Those are the questions I had from Margie and Rob. And before we get to the next part, since I got a handful of you still right here online, are there any other questions that you have right now?
Well,
Because this next,
we didn't
we're,
get to all these questions.
well, I know. That's why I just said we're not to the next part yet, which is
Okay.
mostly about going through Mexico. And when we got down here, most of those questions are about that, or they're
Well,
repeated
three
questions.
of there's another two about money.
They're
Um,
kind of repeat, yeah.
yeah. Well, that one, did we lose money because of the exchange rate? I do know there's two different exchange rates here. I'm assuming it's the same in a U.S. bank. It depends on whether you're
Buying or
giving,
selling.
yeah, if you're giving them U.S. dollars, you get one exchange rate. If you want to get U.S. dollars from them, it's a different exchange rate.
But
So
I am going to tell you a little secret. Both GT and BI, they each have a buy, what they call a buy or a sell rate, and they're two different rates. When I do my transfers from Wells Fargo, I get something right down the middle. So I am not getting shorted by any stretch.
yeah, there's one thing that we did notice, I believe, and that's using, is it American Express?
Yeah, we get a really great
Yeah,
exchange rate on
for
American
whatever
Express.
reason, if we use our American Express card to buy things here, we get a super favorable exchange rate for us. Uh,
I
and,
mean,
and
with
it's
the
not
car,
dollars
it's
difference, but
saved it's saved like a couple of $100 in exchange rate alone buying the car. So, because we
yeah.
could only put so much
See this
of the
here.
Quetzales.
She's asking to put the link for the banking video in the comments when we're done. So
Okay.
be sure you get that up in there.
Yeah.
Um, how much did we spend going through Mexico? Do you remember? I don't really remember. There,
The only thing I can tell you between what we paid a small amount of customs in Mexico, not a large, because they were really, I was very prepared because we drove from Michigan to Guatemala back in 2018.
once
And
again, we researched this and we learned from other people.
yeah,
There was another Facebook group that Debbie found called On the Road in
on the road
Mexico.
in Mexico. Yeah.
And there's a ton of information in there about what to do when you're crossing the border and stuff. So she had printed out a list and the estimated values of all the things that
And
we
I
were
had it
bringing.
in US dollars, I had it in pesos, and I had it in quetzales. And I had columns. And it wasn't an itemized of every single thing. It was like kitchen
Clothing,
things, clothing, computers,
yeah,
electronics.
clothing, $300, kitchen
And
things,
so at the
$500.
border, yeah, at the border, I just handed them this list and they said, "Oh, okay." And they came up with some number. I think it was like equal to maybe a couple $100 in Mexico. And it was another three or $400 in Guatemala. So I think our total customs coming down was almost $600 of out of pocket costs to, because we had a small
And
trailer and a
that
full
doesn't include
back
the
of our
car,
car.
right?
Yeah. Oh no, we had separate. That's a whole.
Yeah,
I don't
that
even
car was a whole
remember.
separate thing.
Yeah, that was a whole nother importing the car. That's a whole other story, and I don't remember all those
There,
fees.
when we were driving down here, there was a special. We had to get Mexican automobile insurance to drive through Mexico.
That's a law. Everybody has
Yep.
to.
And so we had to get that when we were just before we crossed the border and whatnot. So we had it inactive. And then you have to pay like an import fee at the
And
border for your vehicle. If you're going to be in for more
well,
than a couple hours or
if you're
something,
out
right?
within 7 days, they refund that fee.
Yeah, but just if we drove from here to Tapachula, we don't pay that import.
That's the free zone. There is a 20-kilometer free zone at every border.
Okay, so not that we go to Tapachula all that often, and we haven't, but just to pop into Mexico, spend the afternoon, or spend even a couple days in that free zone, it didn't cost us, but we had to pay. It was hundreds of dollars for this import fee. And then, as long as you're out within 7 days, like Debbie said, you get that money refunded back to you.
Yeah, it was
So,
like 400 and some dollars, but and they say pay with a credit card just to be sure.
yeah.
Um, So that wasn't too bad. And our trip, there's a whole video about the trip too. There's some little stories in there,
You
but
know, in some people, if you look at some information on other Facebook pages or whatever, some people say take your time going through Mexico. We had to get through. We had an appointment basically to
to
meet
meet
somebody
somebody.
at the Guatemalan border who was going to help us with the import of all our stuff. We basically had 3 days to get through Mexico. So we were driving. We put gas in our car when we needed to. We paid the tolls on the toll roads because we had learned that it's better to take the toll roads, mainly because the road condition is a lot better.
Right.
And they were beautiful roads and not too many people on them either. It wasn't a lot of traffic unless you went right
Except for
through a
that
town.
first day where we got backed up because of an accident, but
Yep.
we made it in 3.5 days. And that was the next question. How long did it take you to drive through? Because we weren't sightseeing, we made it in 3.5 days. And we probably could have made it in a little less time, but we had a couple of little snafus. We had two dogs with us. There was just some things that you have to take into account.
Another thing is we had gotten the advice, excuse me, that you shouldn't drive at night. So um, when we're going down there at around 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. You start thinking about where am I going to spend the night,
Yep.
and we basically did that. Now I've heard of people that, and these might be Guatemalans or whoever, maybe they're North Americans who are regularly driving this, that they'll drive, basically 24 hours. They'll have two drivers and they'll switch off and they make it through in a day and a half or something or other.
That's a
But
lot of driving.
we we drove steady. We weren't sightseeing for anything, and we were following the route that we had pre-decided on the best that we could. And part of the reason, like this very last question is there a reason we didn't follow the coastline along the Gulf of Mexico? Part of it was we had heard that going across, going around Mexico City, and then kind of making our way to the southern or western coast of
Was safer.
Mexico was a, yeah, safer route, a better route, even though we were also talking to a different expat family who were regularly driving back and forth. Like twice a year, they would drive back and forth. And I believe they took that kind of northern or eastern route mainly. But
Yeah.
we couldn't hook up with it. We couldn't get our dates coordinated. So we followed the best advice that we got in the moment
At
of
that time. Yep.
this is the better way to go. And it really, there were no problems. The roads were super good up until we got to Oaxaca, Mexico, when they were doing major construction in town.
Major.
And we were driving on some pretty bad roads trying to get through this construction till we got on the other side. And the roads were good for a while, right up until the time we got basically on that western or southern
Well,
coast.
just to the north side of Tapachula
Yeah.
by the
And
coast,
then it
they were some.
became kind of like 2 lane highway because we
Yeah,
were basically on what I would consider expressway
most of the
um,
way.
most of the way, and especially
Mhm.
getting on those toll roads, really wide,
Yeah.
nice roads. It was really smooth sailing. So
Now we don't know because we haven't been back to the border by car in probably a couple years now. But we have heard stories of people recently that are having some issue at the border with some of the cartels, especially on the Chiapas, which is the southern state there on the border. And so other people have said they have had no problem. But we haven't, since we moved to Xela, we haven't had a need to go that way. When we lived in San Marcos, we were only about an hour and 45 minutes, and we could go to Sam's Club and Walmart and all that a lot faster
Home
than
Depot,
driving. Yeah, Home Depot,
AutoZone,
AutoZone,
that's
things. Yeah,
one advantage of Mexico. They have a lot more U.S. based stores. I'll say that, like Debbie mentioned Sam's Club. Um, well, we have a Walmart here.
And we're getting a Price Mart in Xela in July. They're building
Yeah.
it right now.
I went there to go specifically to go to Home Depot before
This is your
they have,
question, honey.
you know,
Lum-
I really don't know how much lumber costs in the USA now. My understanding since we've moved here is lumber prices went through the roof in the USA. So I don't know how much they cost. And I haven't really bought a lot of lumber. I did buy a bunch of treated boards kind of probably 3 years ago now, kind of when we first moved to Shayla, and it was expensive. I don't remember exactly how much, but they charge so much per board foot. And if I'm trying to remember, I think it was around 30 some or 40 some quetzales per board foot. So, um, the good news is if you go to this treated lumber place, they tell you right there, this is the board foot price, and then you want some 2x4s. Well, they calculate, 2x4x8 is this many board feet. It costs this and whatever. Across the street, we have a place that sells plywood. I believe a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood here cost around $50 or $60, I believe. But it's been quite a while since I bought plywood over there. I did buy a sheet of what I'll call maple plywood. It was, I think, 5/8 thick and a 4x8 sheet of that. That was like $120 for that. Um, so and they sell teak wood in that same kind of thing, and it's right about that same price for a 4x8 sheet,
Now show off
about a
your
hundred
TV
dollars.
trays. Show off your TV trays. Turn your camera around.
Let's see, is it looking over there?
There you are.
There,
But you gotta go now. You gotta.
I'm gonna go grab one here.
He made a set of TV trays because we can't find a good set of TV trays anywhere. We've seen some semblance of a TV tray, but not like these. And so Brian made these himself.
So yeah, this is that sheet, that 4x8 sheet of maple I bought, the hundred and some dollars, and we have seven. This made 9 TV trays for that hundred and some dollars, and I'm pretty happy with it, especially being we went and looked in a similar style of TV tray at Samaco. They wanted 20 some bucks a piece for plain unfinished pine. So
Yeah, and they didn't look real nice either, or
yeah, I
sturdy.
mean they were kind of cheap, and these I know at least when we lived in the United States, these kind of typical style maple TV trays were a dime a dozen. You'd buy a set of them for $20-$25,
Not
10 or
anymore.
15 years ago. So
Yeah, I say they're over $100 on Amazon for a set.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
yeah, things, unfortunately, the world kind of went off the deep end price wise in the past 5 or 6 years. So
so are there any other questions? Because our hour is coming to a close here, like 10 minutes. So we answered everything we have on our list, I believe. If you've got more questions, send them in. If you're not subscribed, please do. Like, share. We need more subscribers. So, and also I'm gonna ask, do you like these live videos? Should we be doing this like once every 2 weeks or once a week, or just go back to the old style only, or a little of both? Um, just go ahead and add some remarks afterwards.
yeah,
And
how long has it been since we put up just a regular old video? It's been a couple weeks now,
it's
hasn't
been a
it?
couple weeks, yeah, because we did a live one on Super Bowl Sunday, and I think I did a video just a couple days before that, and that's the last regular old video.
Okay.
Is it easy to find a dentist? Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. There
Yeah,
are dentists falling.
everywhere.
There's one thing. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, pharmacies. You won't have any problem finding those here. There's a dentist office right in front of our condo in a little
Yep.
strip mall thing. There might be 50 dentists within a 5-minute walk of us,
And there's even
literally.
some that speak English that some
Yep.
people like. So if you really feel you need an English speaking dentist or doctor, you can.
And so,
They're here.
some of
Yeah.
these places, they look very good. Now, um, there's one they put in a new office, and it's all glass in the front. So you see all these dentists. I mean, top quality equipment as far as you can see looking through the window. When you went to the dentist that Betty recommended for you, I mean, you said he had all the. It wasn't
Yeah, but
like you sat in this rickety old whatever chair and
no,
he's
but it
got a
wasn't
candle
it
trying
wasn't
to
a
look
big
in your.
modern it wasn't a big modern office. If I had no better, I was thinking I was going to meet a mafia gangster in the back room. Um, that's what probably why he's semi-retired. He's not taking new patients. A friend got me a favor to get into this guy. It was a little shady for me at first, but when I got in there, he has all the right equipment. And it was clean and sterile. It was not. It was an old room, so it wasn't some big modern glass and stainless steel. But everything was clean, and he did a good job at a good price. But I can see how people would not be comfortable necessarily if they didn't know somebody that highly recommended him.
Yes, but anyways, there's plenty of them, and they have very nice looking
Yeah,
equipment. Um, the one guy that we talked to, it seemed to me like their office call and maybe an exam, I think was around the $30 or $40 price, which depending on what you have in the USA, insurance wise or whatever, at the end before we moved down here, we were paying that much in a copay,
right.
and then you might have to pay a little bit extra uh, if the insurance didn't cover all the treatment or whatever. You might have to pay a little bit more or whatever. So I think the pricing down here, it would be very comparable. Same. I've been to the ophthalmologist a lot more than I've been to the dentist, and he's got a very nice,
Yeah, he's very
very
modern.
modern
Yeah,
office and a bunch of equipment. And I think we pay around $40 or $50 for the eye exam, and a lot of times because you'll go there, he'll want you to come back in a relatively short amount of time. You don't have to pay for that second visit.
right.
So it's,
Depending on what he needs to do, if there's any other tests or something, yeah. If it's just a follow-up. But um well, I guess we're gonna wrap it up. This has been good. I'm glad we had some people here to ask some questions and have some conversation. And um always feel free. You can go into the community page and send in questions and post there. I answer all of them. And I will make sure that I write down new questions. And if you watch other videos and have questions, I always get a notice when there's new comments and I answer those as well. So you are not ignored. We are trying hard to, uh, hey, Lisa, you're very welcome. We're trying hard to supply you with information that we would have liked to have and maybe sometimes just some fun stuff. So I'm glad that you're enjoying this, Margie, and we hope to see you next time. And like I said, I have to wait until tomorrow to put this video up, some for everybody just to watch. And I'll try to put in the links for a couple of those videos that you were asking about. Or I'll just find one of your old comments and add to it and send you a link to the videos.
yep. So, yeah, thank you all for being here. Like Debbie mentioned, Lisa, I see CD here, and we're just going to keep on. I guess uh, it, there's no difference for us as far as a live or just producing videos. I guess producing the video is a little bit more work at times, but we'll keep them both up for
Yeah.
time being until we find out what seems to be the best for.
What people want or like or find the most informative. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Very
All
good.
right. Thank you for joining us at
Life in
Life in
Guatemala.
Guatemala.
I'll see you in a couple days, Debbie.
All right. I miss you. Love you. Bye bye.
Love you too. Bye bye.